The Best Picture award going to Parasite. This marks the first time ever that a foreign language film took home the top prize.
This is Good Morning Providence.
6:30 on a Monday morning. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for staying with us here on Good Morning Providence as we take a live look outside. Louis Sanias taken into custody in Connecticut over the weekend. This after eluding police for a week. All right, Scott, thank you. Also this morning, a former Cumberland teacher arrested in Connecticut is accused of sexually assaulting a child. We hear a lot about washing your hands, avoiding social contact, not shaking hands. What are some other things that people should be doing right now just to cut down on your risk?
Again, a very good question.
The superintendent is now waiting to see if students will have to make up the time they're losing this week at the end of the school year. Good Morning Providence reporter Scott Cook joins us now live in the newsroom with more on this. Hey, Scott, good morning. Day after Groundhog Day, we got the early spring, and it might feel almost spring-like later today, right, Chelsea? Meanwhile, speaking with Fox News, the president unrelenting in his criticism of this whole process.
I didn't know that was her.
Yeah,
at first.
With the short hair, I didn't recognize her at first, but she had that hilarious bit with Maya Rudolph. We are spotlighting prostate cancer this morning. It's the second most common cancer among men. He was the original Incredible Hulk. Lou Ferrigno, thank you so much for joining us. I've teamed up with Jeff Denoyer. We're growing out our beards. We're trying to raise awareness.
You didn't just forget to shave this morning?
No, believe it or not. I did figure out something that I hate, though. I hate those, you know those little round onions that come in the like white sauce? I can't figure it out. I can't tell where he is.
Come on back.
All right.
You may need a little scrape this morning. We have a little bit of frost. Oh, thank you.
Entertainment news now this morning. A little help here, John.
Oh my God.
Could we be any more excited?
1, 2, 3. Happy
Really, John,
birthday
to
to you. Oh, come on. An estimated 3,000 to 4,000 police officers from across the region came here to town, many of them by bus, to pay tribute to Officer Sean Gannon. And these workers still remain on the job. As you can see, this median isn't even really all that safe to stand on, let alone walk up and down if you're a panhandler. Both the Diocese of Providence and the Boy Scouts say they are cooperating with that state police investigation. That means thousands of people every day pass by this pro-veganism billboard. Hi, sir. Are you Daniel Brown? We knocked on Brown's door Tuesday, but were told to go away. The governor not mincing any words, calling recent test scores unacceptable. Here at Narragansett Town Beach, the conditions are pretty rough. Despite everything she's been through, the folks here at Animal Control say Bella is doing remarkably well. So it's about 7:20, low tide, but still no sign of this mystery object. What do you think needs to change as far as the stigma, as far as the fact that this isn't something men like to talk about?
So prostate cancer.
We are underway on the ferry here from Point Judith. As you can see, we picked a less than ideal weather day to visit Block Island. John Olana, it was a great night here at Providence's big Oscar party, but Chad Verdi is actually out in Hollywood tonight. What's it like being one of the driving forces on a movie with guys like that?
One, being on set and watching them.
Why is it important for people to kind of understand firsthand the work that goes into harvesting cranberries? I gotta try the guac. That is delicious, and I feel like I have to
That's what the spoon is for.
get the ice cream
Dig
too.
in.
Let's do it. I feel really out of shape right now. Here we go. Christina, that final vote coming in the Rhode Island House within just the last hour or so. With it, legislators narrowly avoided a Saturday session. The budget now heads to the Senate. The Rhode Island House decisively passing their version of the budget 66-7.
For a few minutes, I thought we were going to be into Saturday, but we were able to get it done, so I'm very pleased.
Specifics on sports betting added to the budget at the 11th hour after the state hammered out a deal with vendor IGT and Twin River Casino. Under the contract, the state would get 51% of revenue, IGT would get 32%, and Twin River would get 17%.
I think it's a very good deal. It's, you know, we're in sports gaming earlier than a lot of other states, and we have a better percentage for the taxpayers than any state that's doing it right now.
In addition to the expected revenue from sports betting, the budget restores human services funding, continues to phase out the car tax, and borrows $250 million to fix crumbling schools. Proposed amendments to the budget by Republicans failing, including one to get rid of the prevailing wage for workers doing those school repairs, paying them less to make the bond money go farther.
Put less of a burden on taxpayers. So I'm very disappointed that my colleagues rejected it.
Another to make sure money from so-called 911 fees on cell phone bills actually goes to fund the system, also falling short.
Definitely lives are at stake.
Overall, Republicans say $9.6 billion in spending is just too much.
And that makes us, quite frankly, the state where the taxpayers pay the highest per capita for government. We can't keep doing this.
But the Speaker says the size of the budget is appropriate and is glad to see it move on to the Senate.
I always look at the specifics. The level of spending in this case is appropriate to the needs of our society.
The good news here tonight, Senate leaders say they do not foresee any sort of impasse when they take up the budget early next week. Live at the State House tonight, I'm John Krinjak, ABC 6 News. Guys, good evening from Copley Square. It has been a roller coaster of weather on this Marathon Monday, from Hopkinton all the way here to the finish line on Boylston Street in Boston. We've seen heavy rain, we've seen strong winds, and we've seen some lulls in the action, some dry weather in between, but that soggy weather not dampening the spirits of those tens of thousands of runners or those hundreds of thousands of spectators gathering to cheer them on.
This is the best race in the world.
Runners crossing the finish line of the 123rd Boston Marathon with smiles on their faces.
Conditions were better than I expected. It was my best marathon time ever, so I can't complain about that.
Rain and wind taunting runners and spectators alike, but holding off for much of the race.
I was hoping for that tailwind, but it was a little bit side and head at times. We didn't have much rain at all, so it was nice.
Folks from our area running on behalf of all sorts of causes, some supporting cancer research at Dana-Farber, others honoring fallen heroes.
So that's an organization that benefits Gold Star families from Massachusetts who've had a family member killed in the line of duty.
The Rhode Island State Police team running in support of Cops for Kids.
This is my 5th Boston.
5th Boston?
Yeah.
How about overall?
Overall, 14th.
Beth Blandell of Newport says the New England crowd makes all the difference.
Crowd just erupts throughout the whole thing, and that's what carried us all the way.
For spectators, cheering these athletes on is well worth getting a little wet.
We were walking here and it was pouring.
Oh yeah, it was wet. My feet are soaked, but no big deal. It's warm.
Security very tight throughout the course, 6 years after the bombings here at the finish line. But fans say they're not fazed.
The discipline that these runners put in and day out, how could you not come out and cheer them on?
In fact, this is the first year that Marathon Monday has actually fallen on the anniversary of those attacks. Despite that, police reporting no major incidents anywhere along the marathon route. People just enjoying themselves, behaving themselves, and having fun carrying on this storied New England tradition. In Boston, I'm John Krinjak, ABC 6 News. Pam Testoni's first encounter with Rhode Island's mental health care system was a day program at Butler Hospital back in 2010 to deal with depression and paranoia.
It was kind of a Band-Aid.
That Band-Aid ripped off 2 years later.
I had a severe breakdown where I tried to hurt myself.
Her husband brought her to a hospital, which the then teacher says was scarier than the trauma she was already in.
I was put in a room in the back, and I was crying, and I was kind of left alone, and one of the other ladies tried to get over and help me, and they told her to go away. And the nurse came in and looked at me and said, "So what's so stressful about being a 4th grade teacher?"
She begged her husband to take her home, where they tried to get her in to see a therapist.
How difficult was that?
My husband was on the phone for days trying to get me into the right spot.
Eventually, they gave up and went to the ER at Rhode Island Hospital, where Testoni stayed for 16 days, receiving electric shock treatments. It's a situation she feels could have been avoided if she'd had the proper therapy all along.
It's difficult to get in to see a doctor having not gone to the acute stage of going into the hospital.
Lori Pashota, who heads the Mental Health Association of Rhode Island, says Testoni's struggle is far from unique.
Big picture, Rhode Island's behavioral health network is inadequate.
According to the Health Insurance Commissioner, 50% of Rhode Islanders diagnosed with a mental health problem can't get access to treatment. Many stuck on long wait lists, and they're twice as likely to go out of network as those getting medical care. Why should we all be concerned about that?
Because people can die if they go without treatment.
That lack of access stems largely from a shortage of therapists and doctors.
We are in some ways the bastard stepchild of the whole healthcare system.
Mental health professionals professionals like Barrington-based psychologist Peter Oppenheimer are on average reimbursed 23% less by insurance companies than those on the medical side, forcing some to shut down.
I've been worried for years that the cost of doing our business is exceeding what we're getting reimbursed.
He struggles finding specialists to refer patients to, many bouncing in and out of the ER without the care they need. Others just give up.
They're gone.
It's those hardships that make Pam Testoni worry about others going through a crisis like she did.
If you didn't have the support of your husband, what do you think would have happened with you?
I would have died. I would have killed myself.
You're certain of that?
I am certain of that.
Tomorrow on Good Morning Providence, we'll have more on the role stigma plays in all of this. And tomorrow night at 11, part 2 of our investigation dives into what needs to change and how Rhode Island approaches mental health and what's changing already. In the newsroom, I'm John Krinjak, ABC 6 News.